Hi there, and welcome back to the Confessions in the Home Office podcast. I'm Wendy Hill, and I've been running my marketing agency out of my home for 21 years now in Greenville, South Carolina. And this is a podcast where we talk about a lot of marketing and a lot of real decisions behind running a business. And today, on this episode, I want to talk about something that I have been thinking a lot about lately and that I have seen a lot on social media. I really want you to stop pivoting every 6 months. Not because change is bad and not because businesses should not evolve, but because constant shifts quietly erode your momentum. And most leaders don't realize it's happening until they start really feeling that instability. So we live in a business climate that rewards bold moves. Oh, you have a new launch. Oh, you've had a change. Oh, you've had an addition. Oh, you bought a company. Oh, you changed leadership. And reinvention just gets celebrated everywhere. And sometimes that's good. And then people talk about pivoting. That word drives me crazy, but it's out there and I have to say it. Pivots are framed as being visionary, and sometimes they really are. But sometimes frequent change isn't vision. It's just I'm impatient, or I'm comparing myself to somebody else, or I'm feeling the pressure. And those are very different drivers. And if you hear thuds in the back during this episode, I don't know if we can edit out the noises. My husband is putting together a shop vac, and I don't think it's going very well because I'm hearing a lot of thuds in the next room. So anyway, I'll keep going. So whether you're running a solo operation, leading a team of 10 or 20 people, or overseeing a company with a whole bunch of departments, strategic steadiness matters more than we talk about. So every time a business shifts direction, like you have a new service line, or you do a rebrand, or you have something new that you're offering, a new target market, you have a new focus strategically, there's things that just the ripple effects from that. So teams have to reshift and kind of recalibrate. And then externally, you have to communicate things to clients. Then they kind of recalibrate, or you bring new people in. And in the market, your positioning just keeps resetting. And if those shifts are intentional and they're well timed, they can create growth for your business. But if they happen a lot, every couple of quarters, every year, something else starts to happen. Clarity erodes. And clarity is one of the most valuable assets that a business has. So when a company holds steady long enough, the market begins to associate it with something specific. That's recognition. There's trust. There's familiarity. That doesn't happen quickly. It happens through repetition and consistency. And I talk about that all the time. But when direction changes too often, the association never fully forms. Clients hesitate. Prospects get confused, and internally, your team members start feeling uncertain about what the priorities really are. And none of that shows up immediately on a spreadsheet. It shows up slowly in stalled momentum. One of the reasons this happens is because many leaders are watching short-term indicators too closely. Quarterly numbers dip. Oh, our followers dipped if it's something marketing related. Engagement softens. A competitor appears to be accelerating faster. Look what they're doing. We're not able to do that. And the instinct becomes, let's change something. But not every dip requires that word I can't stand, pivot. And sometimes it requires just refining it. And there's a difference between adjusting execution and abandoning the direction. So refinement is tightening messaging and improving the processes and training your team, strengthening sales conversations, and clarifying value. A pivot is changing the core trajectory. Those are not the same move. Another reason pivots happen too quickly is because of boredom. And I'll be honest with you, I've had this happen in my business before, for me. And this one applies to founders and executives just as much as it applies to solo operators. When you've built something long enough, the adrenaline starts to fade. It's not as exciting all the time. Maybe you haven't picked up a new client or changed something up in your business for a while, and things are just kind of moving along status quo. Everything's good. Or the early growth curve slows, and you understand the mechanics now, and things just don't feel as exciting to you. And when it feels less exciting, you're starting to think something must be wrong. I should be doing more. I should be doing something differently. But boredom and misalignment are not the same thing. Boredom is when you're just restless, and misalignment is misfit. Boredom says, this is not as stimulating as it used to be. I need something else. Misalignment says this no longer reflects who we are or where we're going. If a business pivots every time the leadership team feels restless, it never develops depth. And depth is what builds your reputation. And depth is what allows a company to weather slower seasons without panic. Now, none of this means to never pivot, never make a change. Strategic pivots are sometimes essential. Markets change, technology shifts, leadership evolves, new opportunities emerge. But strategic pivots are informed. They're based on sustained data, clear patterns, long-term direction, not short-term discomfort. A thoughtful pivot feels measured. It feels like an evolution that's been forming quietly beneath the surface for a while. A reactive pivot feels urgent. And urgency, when it becomes habitual, creates instability. That's the whole knee-jerk reaction that I've always talked about. If you're leading a business right now and feeling the pull to change direction, it's worth slowing down and asking a few honest questions. Are we responding to long-term trends or short-term pressure? And be honest. Have we fully optimized what we already built? Or are we abandoning it, giving it up too quickly? Are we refining or are we resetting? And perhaps most importantly, is this move aligned with our core identity, or are we chasing someone else's pace? Comparison has quietly driven more pivots than strategy ever has. It's easy to look at another company scaling rapidly and assume your steadier trajectory means something is wrong. But steady growth compounds, recognition compounds, and trust compounds. And compounding only works when direction remains clear long enough for it to take hold. The businesses that endure are rarely the ones that reinvent themselves constantly. They evolve, yes. They adapt, absolutely. But they do so from a stable core. They hold still long enough for the market to understand who they are. And once that understanding is established, adjustments become powerful instead of disruptive. Momentum is not loud. It does not always announce itself. Often it's built in the middle, in the steady quarters, in the consistent messaging, in the repeated execution that doesn't feel dramatic but gradually builds authority. If you feel the urge to pivot, pause before making a large move. Make sure the impulse is rooted in clarity, not discomfort, in data, not comparing yourself to someone else, and long-term direction, not short-term pressure. Because sometimes the boldest decision in leadership is not to change. It is to stay the course long enough for what you've built to fully take hold. So that's it for this week. That's my lesson. That's my confession. So thanks for listening to Confessions in the Home Office this week. And if you have questions about something, send me an email. That's Wendy, WENDI, at marketmomentum.biz. And I will see you next week. Thanks for listening.